Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sarah Jane. This is Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls on Gift of Healing TV. And I'm joined again by Jackie. I know we didn't advertise that fact, but she wasn't too sure whether she was going to make it. But this topic of conversation, which we have tonight, rejection, was one that, because we have got almost opposing opinions on it, we felt was brilliant for her to join in. So, Jackie, thank you so much for joining me again.
That's okay. Thank you for inviting me again.
Oh, well, you're here next week as well. So, everything permitting, that is. Rejection. Do you know what? Because we are so, I say opposing, we just have different points of view. What I am going to do is I'm going to actually ask Jackie to start the conversation. Oh, she says.
Oh, no, Sarah,
I
think it's a really good one for you to start, because then I can say why or how I feel differently about it. Because I think it gives that starting point in the conversation, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I actually put 4 little questions at the start of this. And so for advertising it, for sharing about it. And the first one was, what is rejection? Well, I think to a certain degree, we'd both agree on that. It's just that I actually don't think rejection exists. It's a feeling rather than anything. And Jackie, from the conversations we've had, feels it does. But rejection, what is rejection? To me, rejection is that feeling of somebody saying no to you, don't want you. Yeah, I suppose don't want you. Don't want anything to do with you. That you can be rejected from a job. You can be rejected by a member of family. You can be told by somebody they don't like you. So it could be a friend. There are many, many different forms of that way of that causes that feeling within you that somebody may not like you, and various other feelings that go around that. So Jackie, let's pass over to you.
You see, I mean, I agree that rejection is a feeling, but I do think that rejection can be done to somebody. And my feeling comes from personal experience. And I'm a great believer in the universe, and that our thoughts become things and everything like that. But also being a survivor from an emotionally abusive relationship, I think there's 2 different forms of rejection. I think there's rejection when somebody says no, or when somebody doesn't quite agree, or whatever else. And I agree with you on your definition at that point. But I think there's a rejection when people are doing it deliberately to manipulate you. And yes, it plays with your mind. And I think when they use it as a tool for fear and for control and everything else, because they are manipulating your mind at the same time, I think it becomes a very real thing. Because because they're controlling you, you almost lose the ability to control your own thoughts, because somebody is bombarding you with the things that they say or do, or it's really complicated unless you haven't been in that experience to explain just how insidious it is. So that's where I come from. I think that there's different forms, and when it's done in a manipulative, controlling manner, I do think it exists, because you lose that ability to have your own thoughts, sadly.
See, to me, I see that not so much as a rejection as a control. But you know, but I get it. I really do get it. And who rejects who? Looking at the example you've just given, when you step into your own power and say, no, I am not having this anymore, then in some respects, I suppose that it is a rejection. It's no, it's not happening to me anymore.
Easier said
than done. That feel of rejection, as if somebody is doing something to you. And I'm not, okay, that's because the way I feel about things, my terminology.
Yeah.
But we can go into that rejection of something hang on, do I really have to put up with this? And so, yes, you can reject it. You can say no.
I think, and I agree, because there are definitely, you know, there obviously, for me, the fact that I'm not in that marriage anymore, there came a time when I was able to say no, not anymore. But there is a time. I'm a pretty sensible, logical person. You know, I think I'm quite bright. I've got a good mind and whatever else. But I can tell you that living in that situation, and because it crept up on me so slowly, I did not see it coming. I did not see it happening. And by the time it had happened and I realized what had happened, I'd almost been brainwashed that I was stupid, I was thick, that I was the problem, that I was, you know, I mean, that the control was quite bad, really. And I lost who I was, you know, to the point that maybe to a certain extent I started rejecting my outer family. So you, our other sister, mum and dad, and things like that, because I was being controlled to such an extent. And I think the rejection, or the way that rejection, you know, when you get rejected, you know, there's that little, oh, that catch. But when somebody's using that catch to control you, you know, so I mean, I don't know, it's so difficult to explain, because I do also agree with you. Rejection is a feeling, and it is something we can control, our feelings and our thoughts.
And for a better way of putting it, we can reject those feelings and those thoughts.
Yeah, we can. And so I do agree with you there, but I think it is very different when you are in that controlling situation or controlled situation.
And I get that too. You know, I had a marriage, potentially both marriages in their own way.
Yeah.
Where with the first one, the insecurities of him sort of led to behavior that sort of put real pressure on me, because I allowed it to. And that's just it, because I can look at it now with hindsight, and it's because I allowed it. And eventually it was, I can't put up with this anymore. And no two ways about it, folks. I came very, very, very close. You couldn't get any closer, I don't think, to a nervous breakdown because of it. It's just that it took a while for me to still start to relax when I started into a new relationship after the marriage was over. And I'd said no more. And I wasn't looking for another relationship, which turned into another marriage. In its own way, became controlling. So I do get it. But now, from where I sit, we do have the control when we can find that strength within us to take that control back.
And I think it's something with a mission to have that control, to take that control back, because I would say the first time I can remember experiencing rejection and that feeling was probably when I was about 4. Well, that feeling, and I can still remember, I remember exactly where I was, I remember the surroundings, the whole lot. But I was not old enough to realize that that was a thought and a feeling that came about because of a thought. So I think we don't know what we don't know until somebody points it out, or until we read something or see something on the television, and then we can associate it with ourselves and realize, actually, I don't need to take on board that feeling. I can just say, no, that's not acceptable. I'm worth more than that, whatever else. So I think it's this amazing process of waking up to it.
Oh,
that waking up is vital, and you can't wake up until I think frustration is the greatest gift. We've done one on frustration before. When you get frustrated, you create change.
Yeah.
And you start making changes in things. And so I think frustration is the greatest gift. And if somebody is watching this and they're feeling like, I feel rejected, this happened to me, that happened to me, those things you feel are based on the thoughts you're thinking. And if you change the thoughts you're thinking and change them to empowering ones, so just like you said earlier, Sarah, you can say no. And actually, you are the one that is, in effect, I suppose, under the definition of the word, doing the rejecting. You are rejecting whatever that other situation has been causing you. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think I just don't think sometimes people are in control of, because they don't have the knowledge that they can change their thoughts. And so therefore, in that moment, rejection is very real.
And let's put it this way, you know, sort of, I don't have memories of, well, one, obviously the very early incident that happened to me just before I was 1. I don't have any memories of that. But okay, it's thinking about rejection, because, okay, we're talking about relationships and adults. You've mentioned about the child, the younger you. And okay, if I go back to the circumstances surrounding what made me feel unwanted, unloved, not good enough, etc., 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 it was circumstances. And that child, any child of that age, cannot have a situation explained to them.
Yeah.
That it was circumstances outside of my parents' control. So it wasn't my parents rejecting me. It was just circumstances. But that tiny baby felt rejected in more ways than one. So, yes, have I felt rejected? You bet I have. When my wake up came, when I was starting my healing journey, what I actually realized was the only person who ever truly rejected me was me, when I changed my name. And it was just like, because I suppose, without going, I have no idea what the thoughts were, but I'm assuming, I'm going to use that word very deliberately, I'm assuming the thoughts were, if I get rid of Jane and become Sarah, my life will get better. Jane's been rejected. Now maybe hopefully Sarah will be accepted. So there may not have been an actual thought process around it.
Yeah.
But there was a deeper, and this brings me to something that actually came to me fairly recently. And when we started this, I thought, I knew there was something I was going to do. What was it? I'm racking my brains. Our mind, okay, to me has 2 on switches, okay? Mm-hmm. The on switch of mind and ego, and the on switch where your mind is connected to your heart. And when your mind is connected with ego, that is when we go into those feelings of the negative, those feelings that when somebody says something, no, I don't think you're good enough for that job. Let's just go to work. Let's come out of, because I hopefully, you know, but it does happen in personal life. When you've asked a parent for something and they've said no to you, it feels like a rejection. When your mind is in ego, it sounds as if you are being totally rejected. And there's all the reasons, you know, I'm not good enough. As I said, all those words I've used about myself in the past and earlier. When your mind is connected with your heart, and you've heard things like we're talking about tonight, you know, you may have read information about it, that you have the control. So when your mind is connected with your heart, you can start seeing the things with love. That isn't right for that individual. They aren't rejecting me. They are just being true to themselves. In a situation like the one you were in, it's about, no, I am better than this. I am worthy of more than this. And nobody should be allowed to treat me like this. And you can come out of it. Some people, you may have to come out of it very rough, very strong. Other people, you may be able to come out of it much more gently and much more loving. It depends whether you need the tough love. But I do think we can have that different, where are we sitting in our mind? What part of us is our mind connected to help us with any given situation, especially around this word rejection?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because, and I agree with parts of what you're saying, and then I think sometimes, so you've got your memories of or the residual memories of the rejection from when you were one, and that was through actions that were outside of our parents' control because of a situation. So you see, whereas my rejection was based on something that was said to me, not in the best of tone of voice, and by somebody that I thought loved me, and in that moment, you know, that rejection in that time stayed with me because it took from being a very safe life to a very scary life, actually, because never knowing if that was going to happen again, and not knowing, being so young and not being able to attribute it to anything or whatever else, the feeling of rejection was definitely that, well, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm whatever, I need to prove myself all the time. So it set into motion a whole series of actions and everything else, and part of who I became and who I am today through those experiences. So don't get me wrong, I'm not moaning and I'm not complaining. I'm trying to be honest about those situations, but I think that rejection is not always a no. It's not that somebody's just said no to you. Rejection can be the cruelest of words, actions, or turn away or whatever. But usually those are based around, and it only becomes possible to sort out or to untangle a bit when you're older. Comes around a misunderstanding to do with communication.
Absolutely.
And so it comes back to that. And I just think, I think that it's, I suppose I'm trying to be very careful with how we're wording things within this, because for somebody who is watching who may be experiencing rejection, for them to feel maybe that it is their fault or their whatever else, it's just not. We are who we are based on our life experiences, what we've been through to date, and we can only start changing through our own thoughts and start giving ourselves our own power to say, no, I'm better than that. I don't deserve to be treated like that, or I don't accept that anymore. And as long as it's safe. And if it's not safe, where is the help that you can go and get from somebody else to help you to make it safe? So I think it's so much bigger than, it's such a huge subject.
It is. It's not a little word, but it's not a very big word either. That has so much wrapped around it.
Yeah,
it really does. But I think, see, to another way, when you allow somebody to control you to that degree, there is an element of rejection of yourself.
Yeah, you see,
I get it.
I struggle with the word allow, because it happens so slowly that you do not realize. If it was to happen in one go and somebody was to do that, I was a strong enough person to go, I'm just trying to think of a polite version of what I can say on the video. That's why I stopped, because I was trying to think my wording might not have been very polite. I was strong enough as a person to go, no, thank you. Don't even think about that, you know. But it happened so slowly over a period of time that I was undermined, that I did not realize it was happening. I truly didn't realize it was happening. And therefore, yes, allow is probably the right word, except it's not, because allow then leaves you if you say that word allow, leaves you feeling again like you got it wrong and you made a mistake and it's all your fault. So I think it's this, I think probably, you know, you said that you and I had very different and opposing views on it. I think it's the word and the terminology that hits me, and I'm so much stronger now, but the memories of things can knock me for six still. You know, they still have a power over me. and they're part of that healing journey that you talked about, your healing journey. They're part of that healing journey. And just because I'm still on that healing journey doesn't mean I'm less than or lack of or whatever else. So
nobody is less than. And this is just it. I suppose what we're really trying to say here is, don't let anyone make you feel as if you are being rejected in any way, shape, or form. And that includes yourself. You, every single one of you, is special in your own unique way. And everybody, I know you struggle with that as well. Everybody is special in your own unique way. And you are totally worthy, first and foremost, of loving yourself. When, I suppose, because I've now found that strength within me to love myself, I therefore will learn to say no to others. Not that I am rejecting them. I am just being truthful, honest, and honoring me. And we are allowed to do that.
And you're also able to use your language when you do that. And your language has one meaning to you. But there were two words in that both caused, almost at a cellular level. So the one was don't let. Okay. Well, when I hear that, I think, well, I let him do that to me. I'm the failure. I'm the one who made a mistake. I'm the whatever. So I take it that I made a mistake. I made an error. And that's why myself and my children and everything went through what we went through. And so I feel a guilt towards that. Of course I do. I'm never going to not. I have an understanding for it, that life is a process and you have to experience things to become the person you are today. And I'm quite happy with who I am today. And then special. Well, that was probably used to me in a whole phrase of things being very negative. You know, you think you're special, do you? You think you're something, you know, oh yeah, you know, and it was just in words were used in a very clever way that I lost the person that I was. But in the process of that recovery, I've become somebody I probably could never have been without having been through those things. So again, I don't say anything negative towards the people involved.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. I don't. I'm not sat here slagging somebody off or whatever else. I'm saying how the experience is for me, and I take responsibility for that. But by being honest in how I express it, I hope it gives somebody else an insight. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's coping with those feelings of rejection and realizing that we do have control over those feelings. Feelings are real. There's no two ways about it. We feel them. And I think it is, I hope that what we have shared helps people to think about what has been said from your perspective, from my perspective. You know, and maybe that's because I'm further along my healing journey. I've had words said to me that caused feelings of rejection, you know, and I'm sure they weren't meant, but again, it's down to, and we don't know what's gone on in other people's lives.
Yeah.
We really don't, as to why they behave the way they do. Yeah. But I do feel that we have to turn around when people say something to us or do something that doesn't resonate and doesn't feel good to us, and say, no, that's not okay for me.
Yeah.
And it is, but don't knock yourself, don't berate yourself. I've done a program on mistakes, and to me, you cannot make a mistake. It's all a learning curve. And when we see things that, you know, there are some really tough learning curves out there, guys. I get it. I get it. There are some majorly tough learning curves out there, you know, and there are many, many people doing what Jackie and I do. And if you listen to their stories, it is their tough learning curves that have got them to where they are.
Definitely.
And when stuff starts going wrong, I start thinking, okay, right, what's happening now? As Neil Donald Walsh puts it, perhaps when everything is falling apart, it is actually falling together. And I love that saying. And it helps me immensely at times when it feels like, oh dear.
It is, and it's having that thing, and it's being able to step back and have those thoughts. Perhaps everything's falling together, not falling apart, and it is about that. And sometimes in the moment, we are all human, having a human experience, and we are allowed to cry, we're allowed to wallow in it, we're allowed to feel sorry for ourselves, but it's that how we come out of it, and that makes a huge difference. I think that it's trial and error.
Yeah, actually, you just mentioned crying, which was what I shared last week. And this was the one I couldn't find, which maybe, just maybe. Guess what? That's not it. What is it? Oh, yeah, absolutely. We are all the sum of our tears. Too little and the ground is not fertile, and nothing can grow there. Too much and the best of us is washed away. From Babylon 5.
Oh, I love
that. It's allowing ourselves, if it's frustration coming out in tears, if it's pain coming out in tears, if it's anger coming out in tears, it's allowing them, and allowing them to the extent of release, but not taking it beyond that. So you're watering the ground, you're fertilizing and washing away, you're clearing the eyes of your eyes, the windows of your soul, clearing them, washing them clean so that you can start seeing things afresh.
Yeah.
Too many tears will wash everything away and drown everything. Not enough doesn't actually leave you with fertile soil for anything to grow.
Yeah, no, very beautiful. I like that.
Yeah. And we are going to have to draw it to a close because I know Jackie's got a limited amount of time. And they're only meant to be short. But we talk for we're great for talking. Jackie is back with us next week. But before I go into that, folks, I appreciate that this one can be very, very sensitive. Feel free to email me, and if you want it to be to Jackie, I will happily forward it to her. That's not a problem. giftofhealingtv@gmail.com. We will not share names, email addresses, or anything like that unless you give me permission and you say, actually, could you forward it to Jackie? I'd like to have that conversation with her. Or have that. Can you send this email to Jackie? Or if it's a question you've got for me, please do. If you put it on the website, especially with this GDP thing about whatever, Jackie, whatever that's to do with that's going on at the moment, if you put a comment on the website, your email address will be showing on there. So just be aware of that, please. We don't use those for anything, but they are visible to anybody and everybody who goes to the website. So if you would like a private email, giftofhealingtv@gmail.com. And if you want it to be sent straight to Jackie, I will do just that for you. If you want it to be to me, that's fine. I'm happy for that as well. We are happy to sort of help where we can, which is why we do these. Next week, as I said, Jackie is joining us again. Be nice to yourself, which we felt was totally the right thing to do after this week's one.
Definitely.
Folks, have a wonderful week. Hope you will join us again next week. And, well, in the meantime, enjoy your life. And I hope that you will stand up for yourself and realize that actually, do you know what? It's your life for you to live the way you choose, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Definitely. So it's let go, live free, and love life.
Absolutely. Love, peace, and light, folks. Namaste.
Namaste.